We're just so thrilled to see so many of you here on such a beautiful day. We sense that you're not just interested in global engagement, but you're invested in your students' experience and you're committed to supporting them. And so we celebrate you. We really appreciate Elon families and really see them as allies in this aspect of experiential education, and particularly what we're going to speak about today is global engagement. So my name is Rhonda Waller. I'm the Director of Global Engagement, and I have some colleagues on stage that will also be presenting. We hope to keep our remarks to about 20-25 minutes and then leave a lot of time for questions and answers. We are inviting you to use your smartphone today. So on the big screens, you will see two websites. One URL is directing you to Menti. Menti is a way for us to collect questions from you live, so feel free to start entering questions. The second website is a tiny URL, and this is a presentation that you can take with you today and keep and interact with us after today. So not to distract you, if you're looking at your phone, I'll believe that you're following along with me. All right. I wanted to briefly give a shout out to our wonderful global ambassadors who are down here in front. This is Sarah Gostomski and Megan Barber, study abroad returnees. Sarah is also a teaching fellow. She studied abroad in Argentina. And Megan studied abroad in at the University of the Sunshine Coast. Doesn't that sound very nice? In Australia. And they have a wealth of experiences, and if some of your questions relate to student perspective, we're going to get Sarah and Megan involved. All right, so with that, we will begin with part one of our presentation, which is about program types. I wanted to say briefly that I know some of you this may be your second, third, fourth student in college, at university, and you've seen some things, you know some things. We hope that this presentation will still give you some vernacular and vocabulary for how we think about global engagement. And for those of you that this is the first child in college, we hope to bring you also in and bring you into our world and give you kind of a foundation of understanding. And this is really just the beginning. We're more than happy to continue this conversation after today. So with that, I am going to invite my colleague, Allegra Lang. She is the Associate Director for Global Diversity and Inclusion.
Good afternoon, everyone. Awesome. I am from a call and response culture, so I like when people talk back to me. But thank you, Rhonda. I am so excited to stand before you to give you a little bit more information about the programs available to our students. First, as the Associate Director for Global Diversity and Inclusion, I want to start off by saying we passionately believe that global engagement is for every student. And the GEC is very committed to supporting students across social identities, across different diverse backgrounds and experiences throughout their entire global engagement experience. You may be familiar with Elon's commitment to expand access to global engagement for as many students as possible. And so one of the primary mechanisms that we use to do that is through offering a robust array of program types. So we offer programs that vary in duration, that vary in price point, that vary in academic focus, and also interest areas. We actually have 4 overarching program types that I'll give you some background on today. That includes short-term faculty-led programs, centers abroad, Study USA centers, and exchange and affiliate programs. One of the questions that comes up frequently is, how do students choose between different program types? We actually strongly encourage students to reflect on their academic needs, their financial needs, so what might be the best financial fit in terms of program type, as well as their personal needs and their long-term professional career goals to assist them in determining what type of global engagement program would best align with all of their multifaceted and intersectional interests. So I want to take a little bit of time to give a brief overview of the program types and their attributes, just to give you a few tidbits that you may want to discuss with your student. But first, I'll start off with short-term programs. Short-term faculty-led programs, thank you. But these are taught and designed by Elon faculty, and these programs can range from single-country experiences to experiences that might go to a few different countries. Short-term programs are really great opportunities for those students who are interested in learning with other Elon students around a specific theme, and they frequently integrate group activities into the curriculum. It's important to note we offer both domestic as well as internationally focused short-term programs. Most of our short-term programs are also designed to meet core curriculum requirements. So we know that those are requirements that every Elon student is expected to meet upon graduation. So there are a lot of short-term programs that could fulfill the needs of a variety of different students across majors, across disciplines, et cetera. These programs also really work well for students who may not want to leave Elon for a longer period of time. We do have a few different models of short-term faculty-led programs. First, there is our signature winter term program that many people are familiar with. This is where students travel abroad for 3 weeks, or in the US for 3 weeks. Many of our winter term programs have a fall preparatory class as a prerequisite that students will take prior to participating in the experience. We also have summer faculty-led programs, and these can range between 3 to 4 weeks, and students can receive anywhere between 4 to 7 credits. And a burgeoning program option that we have are our travel embedded programs. And these are programs where students actually take a course here on Elon's campus for the fall semester or for the spring semester, and the travel is embedded either into Thanksgiving break for those programs that are offered in the fall, or the travel could be embedded into spring break for those programs that are offered in the spring. So we're really excited about that option because we really think that'll help expand access to many more students who are interested in global engagement. One of the things I do want to lift up, since many students are interested in winter term programs, is the financial aspects of the winter term program, specifically the difference between tuition versus program fee. So we know that at Elon, tuition for winter term is included in fall tuition, and tuition actually is the cost of instruction. However, for winter term courses that are taught off campus, there's actually additional costs associated for students departing campus, and hence the reason why there is a program fee connected to winter term programs. Usually the program fee includes airfare from the departure city, as well as accommodations, cultural excursions, and other components that make up that winter term experience. So now I'm going to move on to our center programs. And center programs are Elon's signature global engagement opportunities that are offered both domestically and abroad. And they really offer students unique learning opportunities. So we actually have 4 centers based abroad and 4 centers based in the US. So I'm going to talk a little bit first about our centers abroad. And these are all offered on a semester basis. And they're located in London in the United Kingdom, in Florence, Italy, in Dunedin, New Zealand, and also in Shanghai in China. So the interesting element about these programs is that students participate alongside other Elon students, and these programs typically have the support of an Elon faculty member while the students are overseas. These programs are typically offered in conjunction with partnerships abroad, but they are customized to meet the needs of Elon students. And so certain center programs abroad have unique aspects. For example, on specific center programs, students may be able to take a core capstone course or participate in an international internship. Moving on to our Study USA centers, we have centers in LA, in New York, in San Francisco, as well as in DC. And among our center programs in the US, we have both semester and summer options. They really are unique opportunities that offer Elon students the option of combining academic coursework as well as an internship. And they tend to be really great options for those students who are interested in expanding their professional networks within the US, particularly among Elon alumni. And it really offers students an opportunity to deepen all of those skills that they're learning here on Elon's campus. Our final program type are exchange and affiliate programs, and these are partnerships that Elon has established all over the world where students can study abroad for a semester or for a summer. Our partnerships are actually carefully vetted, and that's really to make sure that they meet Elon standards for academics and engaged learning. They also provide a means for us to diversify the types of experiences that students are able to participate in. And they actually range in structure. There are some programs that students would be directly enrolled into the institution overseas, so potentially taking classes with South African students, with Ghanaian students, with Australian students, et cetera. But there are also programs that are structured specifically for international students and specifically for American students overseas. We also have partnerships with programs that offer very experiential components. For example, this week we had our partner school for field studies come to campus, and they have 10 environmental research stations across the globe where students can refine those research skills and environmental science skills. Very rustic, very non-traditional in terms of its approach. One thing I like to highlight is that students can apply Elon grants, scholarships, and federal financial aid to any approved Elon program, and that includes all of the program types that I have described. If students are particularly interested in leveraging their scholarship or financial aid award, we actually do consider students to review the semester options, because that in the long run actually might be a more cost-effective option for students. So there are actually many aspects to selecting a program. So one of the things that we really encourage students to do is to come to our office. We're in Global Commons on the 3rd floor, and also to utilize the robust resources on our website. But that actually concludes my portion of the presentation. I'd like to invite my colleague, Bill Burris, to the podium.
Hi, everybody. As Allegra mentioned, I'm Bill Burris. I'm Associate Director for Global Centers. Before I dive in, I want to point out for those of you who joined us a few moments late that if you want to ask a question, you can go to follow the link to menti.com posted on the screen and type in the code and go ahead and submit your questions. I saw that we've gotten a few so far already, which is great, and so we'll dive into those in just a few minutes. But I am going to talk a little bit about expectations, and specifically in this context, what I'm talking about are what we expect for your students while they're on a global engagement program. And the first thing that we expect for your students while they're on a global engagement program is that they will encounter difference. So whether they're spending a summer in LA or a semester in Shanghai, China, we expect that they're going to encounter people and situations that are completely distinct from anything that they have experienced before. And again, this is normal. This is what we're going for, in fact. Sometimes students expect that it is our goal to create experiences in other places that are similar to Elon. And this isn't the case. Even if it were what we were going for, it's not a realistic goal for us. And so sometimes that can create discomfort. And in fact, discomfort is another thing that we expect all of your students will experience at some point on their global engagement program. Discomfort, ambiguity, adversity are all things that come from a transition to a new environment. You all have experienced having students in college. Many of you will have had multiple students in college at this point, and you know that there are elements of transition present in all of these experiences. And our global engagement experiences, that is true and more. There are more layers to each of these transitions from, just being in a whole different country with a different set of rules and norms and standards to, maybe you're going to LA and you've never spent time in LA and don't know anything about navigating LA. The transitions that your student is going to experience on a global engagement program are some of the most powerful elements of learning that take place while on the program, and they can be very disorienting. And so it can be very disorienting to participate in a global engagement program. But in our opinion, your student is going to grow from this disorientation. They're going to grow from this discomfort. They're going to take all that and they're going to overcome it. And they're going to incorporate it into their set of experiences and skills that they're going to carry on from this experience. And so what sets having this sort of experience on a global engagement program apart from simply moving to LA or moving to New York later in life is that your students are going to have people who are there on site specifically for the purpose of supporting them. They're going to have us back at Elon who are happy to help them navigate these transitions as well to the best of our ability. And so with the support of the people on site who have either the cultural knowledge or the understanding of what needs to be done in any given situation, your students are going to build the self-efficacy and the just general competence to navigate through these situations on their own. And that's going to be an incredible growth experience for them as they go out from Elon into the world. Because as you and I know, the world is not like Elon. The world is very different from Elon. And so having these experiences in a controlled environment where they have access to assistance can really be an excellent springboard for what follows from Elon. Parents play a critical role in this, both helping us ensure that your student is getting what they need, but also in giving your students the space to take the growth steps on their own. It's critical that students take the initiative and and have the space to navigate these new circumstances without too much help from back home. But we also understand that there are circumstances that certainly require help from back home. And so we think this is one of the areas that Elon really excels at. And I'm going to turn it back over to Rhonda to talk a little more about that.
So if you're following along on your smartphone, you will know that I'm about to brag. My section is called Elon's Strengths, and then we are going to get right to your questions and hopefully provide answers to those questions. So I was walking in this morning from the parking lot, and I don't know if you guys are aware, but we have to kind of park out in the hinterlands today because we make space for y'all to be here, and we're very happy to do that. So I had a little bit of a longer walk into the office this morning, and I thought, well, what can I get away with? What can I get away with telling these families today? Gosh, I mean, I'm kind of a Midwestern person, so I was sort of taught not to brag, to be humble and modest. But one of the things that I want to convey to you, and it's not on your tiny URL, is that I really believe that the Global Engagement Center is one of the best in the nation. The team that I get to work with every day they are some of the most dedicated, hardworking, professional, and committed people that you would ever hope to meet. I feel very proud to work at this institution and to be surrounded by such excellent professionals. So please forgive me for bragging. In addition to Bill and Allegra, we'll be joined by Janelle Decato, another Associate Director for Global Short-Term Programs. She's teaching Elon 101 right now, so she's going to run over here. But I also want to give a shout out to my colleagues here in the first row. So if you guys don't mind just waving at the crowd, we have Shanna Van Beek, Catherine Hinken, and Maria Papapietro. So in addition to being very proud of our hard work, we simply could not have global engagement at Elon without excellent faculty. If you haven't noticed, and we've got a lot of new banners on campus to celebrate our new ranking with U.S. News and World Report, we're rated number 2 for teaching excellence in the nation. Watch out, Princeton. We're coming for you. We're going to be number 1 next time around. I feel it. We have such fantastic faculty. They're the ones who really bring so much of that engagement into these experiences. They put so much time and work into delivering these courses to our students. And as Allegra described, this happens not only in winter term, but all year round and at our centers abroad and in the United States. So that's worth mentioning. Next is our top-notch partners. So we just simply could not have as many options around the world if it were not for our exchange and affiliate partners and those folks behind the scenes, even at centers and on winter term programs that help things work on the ground. We are very picky about who we work with. I don't know about you, but I studied abroad in 1994. That's 25 years ago, not that anyone's counting. And when I was in school, we had about 3 options just to choose from with study abroad. And what I want to convey to you is that the landscape of study abroad has really changed. And while maybe you've been paying attention because you have students in college who've already had this opportunity, you may be surprised to just understand the broad and vast array of options and how different they may be from some of your previous experiences. So our partners understand Elon. They understand our standards, both in terms of academics, but perhaps equally important in terms of health and safety. And that's another topic I am bringing to the forefront here. Everyone cares about this. None of us can be efficient learners in life if we don't feel safe and we don't feel healthy. So in some respects, health and safety dominates. It is primary. Elon tends to be conservative in making decisions around risk management. We tend not to take risks at all with student health and safety. We are very open about this. We're happy to have conversations with all constituents, including all of you, about how we make decisions. Again, in the Mentimeter, or sorry, not the Mentimeter, our Adobe Spark handbook, I've listed some of the resources that we turn to when we're making decisions around health and safety. So should a program be canceled? Should it be relocated based on a natural disaster or based on political unrest or other types of events that are occurring all around us in this uncertain world that we live in? So I wanted to highlight a few of those and mainly just emphasize that we don't make decisions in isolation. As part of the field of international education, we're very closely connected to colleagues across the country, and we're proud of those connections. We also receive support and guidance from World Aware International, Drum CUSEC, OSAC, the Overseas Advisory Council, Working Group, and many, many other resources. So we are never operating in isolation. We're always looking for the best guidance possible. So I hope to convey our seriousness around health and safety. We also have some exciting resources that are relatively new. One of those is an app that we encourage all students to download on their phone and carry with them, and this includes in Los Angeles and as well as Shanghai, and that's called Alert Traveler. So that's a really great resource that we have to stay connected to our students, even though they're far away from us. And brand new this year is another resource called My SSP. My SSP, and that is an opportunity for any student anywhere in the world at any time of day to connect with a counselor, someone with a master's level credential in counseling. They can connect with that counselor via text. There's absolutely no charge. If a student's first language is Spanish and they'd rather get counseling in Spanish, that is another service provided by My SSP. So we're truly excited and proud to be offering that resource. With that, I think I will give everybody the opportunity to ask questions. I know we have the Mentimeter going, but we also have 2 microphones, and we also have our wonderful global ambassadors who can run to you kind of like Oprah used to do with the microphone. So we are being video recorded today, so we will kindly ask you to speak into the microphone. That way folks who are watching this later can hear your questions. Thanks.
Okay, so I promise I'm not playing on my phone. I'm looking at the questions you've submitted. And I must say, we've got 31 questions right now, and we've got about 20 minutes. So we will not get to all of them, I'm sorry, but we will just do our best. And there's some good ones, some challenging ones. So the first question is, my sophomore computer science major son wants to do a semester abroad in Dubai. When is the best time to do this, and would he be able to take courses for his major there? Would he be with other Elon students? And so this is an excellent opportunity to highlight some of the diversity of global engagement, because the fact of the matter is that if you look on our approved list of programs, you won't see a program in Dubai. However, that does not mean that there are not study abroad programs in Dubai, and it does not mean that your student would not be able to study abroad in Dubai. We have a non-Elon process where a student who selects a program that's not on our approved list can petition to be able to do it. We look for academic rationale to do such a thing. And our colleague Mark will sit down and work with your student to go through this and decide if it is, help decide if it's right for them. There are other implications to that, but it's certainly a possibility.
Can I add to that?
Yes, certainly. Please.
So I'm helping a computer science major go to Japan next spring, and I'm calling on 2 other students who've returned from Japan who are computer science majors. So not Dubai, but I think this is an opportunity to remind folks, and forgive me if you've heard about this a lot already, but every student completes something called the core curriculum. And so most students, if you were to talk to our students down here and you pulled them aside and said, what did you take abroad during your semester away, they're not going to report that they solely took courses in their major. That is not commonplace. Usually they're taking a combination of courses in the core curriculum and in their majors and minors, but also just classes that they want to take because they've been inspired and there was a spark in them to take a course not offered at Elon. So most students are bridging across those, which can alleviate some of the pressure. Because if you're looking for a program that has 4 computer science courses, you're going to struggle, honestly, to find those programs. But that doesn't mean you can't go abroad or away to a Study USA program. So again, that's where advising comes in, and we would love to talk to whoever that is. We'd love to talk to your student.
Cool. The next question we received is, when will applications for the Elon London Fall 2020 open? So applications for Fall of 2020 are going to open on October 8th. For our early action period. So for students who are pretty firmly decided in what they want to do, we invite them to apply in the fall. Applications will close on November 14th for review and then reopen on December 3rd. Shout out to Shanna. And remain open until the middle of February. And so again, to second what Rhonda just said, we invite you to ask your students to come sit down with us so that we can talk through the logistics of applying, how they should be prepared, what they're going to take, so on and so forth for that. So the next question is there a catalog or list online of all available programs? Yes, if you go to our website, which is simply elon.edu/studyabroad, and scroll down just slightly, there's a box that says quick links, and then there's the ability to search programs. And so you can filter by semester or winter or summer and see what all is there. And it's a pretty long list. The next question is, how long in advance do you have to pick a study abroad program? The more planning goes into selecting a study abroad, the better the outcome will be. We have worked with students who have applied after our deadlines for a given term, but this is certainly not ideal and creates a lot of pressure, a lot of hassle, a lot of uncertainty, and so it's not our preferred method of doing things. Generally, our deadlines are probably 3 to 6 months in advance of a program, but ideally your student would have clear understanding of the program, the academics, and so on and so forth well before that. And so it is never too early. Well, a first-year student in their first week, it might be a little too early. But after your student has made that first graduation plan in Elon 101, we're ready for them. We're ready to talk to them, I think.
Yeah, I would add that, 1 year in advance is one way to ensure that you're not going to miss that scholarship deadline. That hinges on whether or not your student can participate. So, just kind of dialing back 1 year before the program would take off generally will ensure that you're not missing important deadlines. And I failed to mention our GEC Access scholarship that we're very proud to offer. It is a need-based scholarship, so we encourage all families to make sure they have a FAFSA on file in order to qualify for that opportunity, and it is for everyone's first global engagement. We make it so easy to apply. It is simply a checkbox inside an application. So when you're talking to your student, just say, hey, have you seen that checkbox for the GEC Access Scholarship? Because we want to give this scholarship to every single person who is eligible. So I just wanted to hearken back to financial planning, because of course financial planning and academic planning can be separate roadmaps, but they're definitely very much intertwined. And so, I would say many of us who advise students every day, we are talking to students 2 years in advance, and that we're not going to boot them out of our office and say, you're too early. We're going to say, sit down, let's get going, let's start planning.
Our next question is, with the idea that there is limited space in each program, are students allowed or encouraged to apply for more than one program at a time? The logistics of that, I think, are not something that we're equipped for at this moment, so we require students only to apply for one program at a time. But ideally, students would go into an application with a second choice program. The reality, I think, is that most of our students get their first choice, but there are certainly situations where people don't get their first choice. We have a number of winter term programs and a number of semester-long programs that are very popular, where we do occasionally have to turn people away. And so ideally, every student would be prepared with a second choice program.
I'll add to that. Our deadlines are early. If you were to, whenever I meet colleagues at conferences and compare notes, Elon sets our deadlines quite early. Mm-hmm. And we do that because we contemplate that students will change. And even if your student gets into their first choice and wants to change, there is always a window of opportunity for changing into another program. So this is already sort of meditated and contemplated on our part, that if students are confronted with being put on a wait list, that does happen, that they have a room. The door isn't shut in their face. They have room, time, and space to consider a second option. We have a mission of access at Elon. It's 100%. We set the bar as high as it can go. So we're very mindful of a student who may get that news of being on a wait list as bad news, but that doesn't mean they can't participate.
Our next question is there a work-study abroad program, and if yes, where and who can apply? So there's two possible angles on this question, and I'm not sure which one the asker is trying to hit, but the first one is for scholarship support, and the second is professional experience. And so Work abroad as a means to pay for study abroad is not common at all, and we don't recommend it as a possible, like, an avenue of consideration. There are plenty of study abroad programs that give out both need and merit-based scholarships, and so those are definitely available. We do, however, have a number of programs that feature internships. So our London Center program, our programs in Barcelona and Seville, Spain, our program in Prague, Czech Republic, our program in Shanghai, China, just to name the first 4 or so that came off the top of my head, all feature internship opportunities. And so those are amazing professional experiences and excellent opportunities to get involved in the local community. Let's see. How much does the spring semester abroad with Elon cost, and how far in advance does a student need to sign up for the Elon Spring Study Abroad in Florence, Italy? I think we've covered a lot of that, but I will just use that as an opportunity to say that many of your students are possibly considering studying abroad on an Elon Center program in London or Florence. Most of our students study abroad in the fall, but we would prefer for more of them to study abroad in the spring, and so we offer a substantial discount on our London and Florence programs in the spring. And so if your student mentions one of those programs to you, encourage them perhaps to think about study abroad in the spring.
It's a $4,000 discount.
Yep.
So I think that's very substantial. Yep.
Yes. Is there a prime time for students to study abroad? Fall, spring, sophomore, junior year, et cetera? So as I mentioned, most of our students study abroad in the fall. The fall of junior year is when most Elon students do it. I don't think that we think that's the best time. I think that spring of sophomore year can be a great time. I think Sarah did spring of sophomore year. Fall of junior year, there are certainly good reasons to study abroad then. I think spring of junior year is also a very good time. I think there are major considerations that drive this, such as I was talking to a biology major this morning who's got labs in a certain sequence and has arranged it so that fall is the best time, and that's great. I know for accounting and finance majors, their big internship hunt is during the fall of junior year, and so I would suggest that for accounting and finance majors, that's not the best time. But I think that there are individual considerations that have to be accounted for when deciding what the best time to study abroad is.
I'll just interject that, Elon students are whole people, and we like to think of them holistically. And so each of your students has academic life, but they also have a social life, right? That's a part of who they are and their goals for being in college. And so I just want to speak directly with you that a lot of the time your student will come to you suggesting fall because that's when their friends are considering study abroad. And for us, that's a mixed feeling because that may not be the best time academically for them to maximize that experience. And so I'm not saying talk them out of it, but I would encourage you to ask probing questions about that. Because the truth is that, and many of us know this from experience, I hope our students down here will nod their head, that they find social outlets abroad. They meet the best friends that they didn't know they ever had while on these programs, and that fear about stepping into a situation where there isn't already a built-in network of 20 friends seems scary, but it's something that can be really rewarding and allows that student to leverage the program type as we were discussing, really getting the very most out of that potential experience. So timing is complicated. It has to do with academic progress, as Bill was alluding to. But ask your student, how they're considering this. And we're happy to have students away in the fall, but for some students, spring, really would be potentially even more outstanding opportunity.
Do you want to add anything?
I went abroad in the spring, so I can definitely attest to going abroad in the spring was the best time for me. I think it was not when all of my friends went, and I survived, I swear. I went as a sophomore, so also not as common. But I definitely made, like Rhonda said, those friends abroad that are lifelong friends that I know I will always have and stay in touch with. And Elon went on without me. So
Our next question, I think, is really interesting. What programs are available for USA study away courses that can be completed during the J term? Three that come to mind almost immediately. First, there's a course this year that is going to the Iowa caucuses. So it's basically getting involved in campaigns and seeing that process from the inside. There's one called Borderlands that's going to the U.S.-Mexico border, and there's a course that goes to the Sundance Film Festival. And so those are three, I think, of our most outstanding U.S.-based.
Yeah, we have a fan favorite. It's Hawaii,
Yep.
which is a really, actually very challenging course, and the professors will be the first to attest to that. We also commonly have a program to Disney, and again, this sounds, it's the study of happiness, but it's a very serious course taught by a sociologist who studies happiness. So those are a few that come to mind.
Yep. Our next question is a really good one, and I definitely want to make sure we get to this one. How much does a semester of study abroad cost versus a J term of study abroad? And so in terms of the absolute cost, a semester certainly costs more. But if you consider it in terms of the fact that for a semester, you will be paying some amount of money for your student to attend Elon. Whereas for a J term, if your student comes to Elon, you will pay theoretically $0 more than what you've already paid for the fall semester. But then add in the J term program costs. So I would say that the average cost of a January term program is somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000. Is that fair? Yeah. So in terms of what you're paying beyond what you would ordinarily pay, a J term is $7,000 beyond what you would ordinarily pay. Whereas we have some semester programs that cost less than attending Elon for a semester. We have plenty that
Argentina.
cost more. Yeah, I think Sarah did one that
Yeah,
cost less than
Argentina
going
was
to Elon
less.
for a semester. We have plenty that cost more. But in terms of things that are $7,000 beyond what costs, what Elon costs to attend for a semester, there's almost the entire range of semester-long programs that we offer available to a student whose family is prepared to spend $7,000 additional dollars on study abroad.
Yeah, I would just, add that if you're taking a group of 30 students to Australia, there are some fixed costs. The flight is a fixed cost. We can't make that cheaper than it is. And so another way of leveraging is to be like Megan and spend 4.5 months in Australia for the price of that plane ticket, right? Versus signing on for a program that it has very little to do with the GEC. It has to do with whatever Qantas or United Airlines is charging for that ticket. And so, that's why we say cost effective. We believe in our winter term programs and they're transformational, but in terms of a per day cost, you can't beat semester. You just can't beat the semester experience for cost effectiveness.
All right, so it is 1:45, and I think they want us out of here pretty promptly. And so I regret that's all of the questions that we're going to be able to get to now. However, the three of us, our colleagues, and our students will remain behind for questions. And so please come see us if you want to talk about anything specific. Thank you.
Thank you.